线上的观众，大家下午好，我是本次毕业展览故事名的公关，非常感谢大家今天来参与由台师大设计系及 Lumion 正红国际与 ASUS 的线上讲座，设计思考视觉即时化的力量。如果在讲座途中有任何问题，都可以在 Google Meet 的问与答中提出。我们将在讲座最后的 Q&A 环节，统一请长友大辅老师及 ASUS 的周玉轩专员为我们回答。那接下来我们的讲座就正式开始。
Hello, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk about a little bit of design, how I think about design and how I approach to design, and mostly talking about design thinking and also how real-time visualization. And then this lecture is supported by NTNU Design and Jenhong and ASUS. Thank you so much for their support. And then I start. Right. My name is Daisuke Nagatomo. I'm an assistant professor at National Taiwan Normal University, Department of Design. Also, I'm a founder and design consultant of Miso Soup Design, Taipei-based design studio. And I study in Japan, architecture, and then also in United States, Columbia University for master's degree in architecture. And also I have a working experience in New York and Spain and Tokyo and Taiwan. I'm US American Sustainable Design Certificate accredited professional in WELL and LEED. Okay. So in NTNU Design, I'm responsible of teaching interior design and also design philosophy, theory, and also some course of product design. I focus on sustainability and design thinking, and also implementing digital literacy. As a Miso Soup Design, I'm currently design consultant. We have been working on various scale projects, including architecture, interior, and installation art. And we have been recognized in international awards, including from Europe, US, and also Asia. So these are a few of our example cases. We work on, once again, scale of architecture. This project on the left is in south of Taiwan. And also the middle one, installation art in Pingdong. And the right one in Taipei, in Hwasan, we worked on idea of sustainability and circular design. Okay, so before I introduce my idea of this design process, I like to talk about design endeavor, journey of design endeavor, which introduce how I started my design career as a student, and also how I try to improve myself. And when I think about my starting point as architect or architectural designer or purely designer, I always think about this Professor Koyama's and one of the lecture he gave us. As a student, I don't think I fully understood what he meant. Afterwards, his lecture keep coming back to my mind. He said, when you have the design idea in your mind, it is at its most beautiful state. So all the architectural training is to make your design outcome as close as what you are imagining. What he meant was always you have a, I mean, as a designer, you always has beautiful visions. I mean, if you don't have this vision, I don't recommend you to think about being designer. So mostly designer always come up with kind of great idea, beautiful imaginations that you try to accomplish through your skills, which is drawing, which is making models, which is computer or professional drawings, construction drawing. However, usually the outcome is not necessarily what you are imagining because there's a lot of restrictions. And this is of the project that I worked in Columbia University, one of the studio project. What we were experimenting was using these materials and how we can propose certain architectural solution. While afterwards, after I finished my education in Columbia, I started working as an architectural designer in New York City. And one of the projects I worked is this large apartment complex in Manhattan, New York, with 10 architects. And the first floor has Mercedes, and it's the biggest, I think, headquarters of Mercedes-Benz, and showroom and maintenance space. And after New York, I was in New York about 9 years, and then I went to Spain, Barcelona, for 1 year as a researcher and worked on this project called Fab Lab House with IAC, Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia. Here I start I was interested in sustainability when I was in New York, but I really wanted to experiment how actually we can build a building with fully integrated sustainable solution. And after the experience in Spain, I came back to Asia and Japan and Taiwan, and we completed one of the project with National Charlton University called Orchid House. This project, I brought about 30 students from master students from NCTU, and then went to France to complete the project. So some point, I think the most important for designer, what I think the most important part is to accumulate the experiences. Because, for example, when I graduated from undergrad in Japan, I don't know how to even compose a building or compose a design. And after I went to New York, I took this master course and then start thinking more so-called advanced, but I still really think it's a lack of experience. And after working experience and start learning your own practice, you start kind of accumulating your own experience, and then that reflects to your design. And in general, somebody tell you traveling is the best form of education, which is very true, because unless certain things that you cannot learn from, for example, reading books or watching TV or internet, is this physical experience. Like when you go some other countries and see things or eat some food that you never had, this accumulates into you. So that I totally agree, the idea of traveling is really one of the experience that school cannot teach. That's totally true. But then in terms of design, that's also another question. Is traveling help you to be a better designer? So the obvious, I travel around the world, United States, Europe. And for example, this one is BMW headquarters in Munich, Germany. And this project, when I was in Spain, 2009, just completed. So obviously, I went to see. It's a wonderful project, wonderful building, very complex geometries. And that's on the right side is myself. It's a building background. And also, I was in Spain for almost a year, so I visited a lot of Antonio Gaudi's project, the architecture genius, and this project called Casa Bayo in Barcelona, Spain. It's a wonderful, wonderful project. A lot of details that you really kind of inspired myself, you know. So I was looking at this sculpture at the end of staircase, or I'm looking at the lighting system. And also when I went to Barcelona, from Barcelona to Madrid, this one of the project called Kasha Forum was designed by one of the Pritzker Award-winning architects called Herzog Tomuro. And yeah, I mean, the project is amazingly fruitful in the textures and materials, and all the geometry they incorporated in the project are amazing. And once again, so after I see these buildings, I travel in many different countries and I see all those masterpieces. And when I start thinking, is this something, if I keep looking at these projects, I could be a great architect or a great designer one day? And I mean, I was hoping so, but really start having a little bit of, how do I call it, doubt on just traveling help. And the reason why I think that traveling, even though you can accumulate amazing experiences, and obviously you can maybe utilize in one of your design projects, but the biggest difference is you're seeing things of some design that was produced by somebody else, so that it's not necessary, it's you're looking at your own result. I thought that was one of the other biggest concern of the experience, accumulating experience. So here I like to talk about this term called design thinking. Design thinking usually comes with 5 or 6 different states of thinking process. One of the important part is to ideate and then also define, emphasize. But your idea, it need to be tested or make it into prototype and test it, so that you can get the feedback, and you can, from the feedback, you can define it, and then also once again go back to your ideas. So if you look at this design thinking, I think for me, my case as an architect or architectural designer, I think this prototyping state was one of big questions. Because for us, I think prototyping really works in terms of smaller scales. For example, product design or graphic design, or signage, and also computer digital design. I think prototyping really makes sense, but in terms of creating space, what I found it's kind of difficult, because obviously you cannot really build a one-to-one scale space before you build the space. So for us, for example, interior designer or architectural designer, really, in order to generate the design, we draw by hand sketch, like draw hand sketch. This is one of the project completed a while ago in Beitou, the north part of Taipei. So when I think about this shape of opening towards the window, because we are trying to frame this nice view to Danshui River, and we try to kind of create little space that can have multiple usage, like this normal sit, bench, or like sleeping type of, so that we try to emphasize with kind of unique shape. Here, but for us, I guess initially we were sketching a lot, and also this project earlier introduced the project in Tainan that's a single dwelling for 2 generations, meaning parents and young couple. They're supposed to share the this house. So that we worked on this idea of massing the volume models, and then seeing which possible solution could work in terms of design, or also discussion with client. However, obvious this model is so small. I think that was 1 to 100, like very small. That how do you imagine the space? That's hard. And obvious nowadays we cannot really develop the design without these computer renderings or 3D modeling. So we usually during this process of designing a space, we heavily relying on the computer. And this project I completed a few years ago in Taoyuan. It was quite big house, like three floor space. And you can see this is almost same standing point and looking at the space. The result comes out quite close. And this project called Spiral Pavilion, we made by hand. We cut it with the this called CNC machine for cardboard, and then we hand assemble. I mean, this is called prototyping. Yes, it's a real prototyping. We kind of made it by ourselves. And obvious by prototyping, you notice a lot of different things from what you are imagining, and the actual outcome, and you can implement your design thinking, right? And also sometimes we do this art. So art is more like crafting. Use your hand and then you knit it and see if you can achieve what you're imagining. So this method for me, it's considered as one of tools that I generate this design thinking during the design process, especially a larger scale project, interior or architecture. So I like to share a few cases that I recently completed. The first project we call, this is the junior high school assembly hall. We call Fondon Junior High Assembly Hall renovation project. We have received quite amazing feedback from Design Award. We got IF from Germany and Taipei International Design Award and TID Taiwan Interior Design Award, and also Golden Pin. We were one of the best Golden Pin candidate shortlisted, co-finalists. And this project was part of design movement on campus, which initiated by Taiwan Design Research Institute. This is the second version of design movement on campus. And it started with this site visiting. We visited this project after we were asked to renovate, or we were part of this design movement on campus. And first thing we realized was existing condition in this building is quite sad, and also very typical educational space in Taiwan that has this rigid ceiling grid and fluorescent lights everywhere, which provides you enough illumination of the space, but the color temperature is so high that it looks too white, and then the wall has leakage problem, and outside you can see on the right the photo on the right was covered by this announcement board everywhere. Two sides was all covered, which you don't even notice that you are passing by this building, feels like. And especially when we visited, we realized actually the campus, this Fondon Junior High campus, is very nice because a lot of trees and has this connection between buildings and building. And this building, particularly this assembly hall, was in between kind of teachers' building and students' classroom building, so that we wanted to create like more present, more nice experience when you pass by, rather than just having this kind of announcement board. So this is my concept sketch. What we wanted to do was to actually open up this building to the rest of the campus and create this inside interior space and outside exterior space, which is the campus. Rest of the campus creates a connection by inserting our design. So converting space to performing platform. So we wanted to create kind of stage, like the circle-shaped stage for connecting the inside and outside of the building. This is our concept. So in this building, with rectangle shape, about 22 meter by 9 meter. So mainly having these two big functions. One is left side is to perform CPR, those teaching CPR training, which is kind of training students in case of emergency, you can help the others to recover their life. Or it's open to public, so they can actually use yoga. You can do yoga type of thing. And in between is the entrance, where you can, and this is A is main entrance that you enter and realize there's a, left side yoga space, right side is the performing stage or sharing space. So this circle, what we inserted was to create this kind of stage platform that actually go outside, which connects between outside and inside, and then intentionally kind of keep this pure circle geometries. And we didn't want to place in the middle of the column first, because outside of this building is circulation space for teachers to go to classroom. So we couldn't go too much far out. We put it about 2.3 meter. And also when we place in the middle, I saw it's a little bit too symbolic and it looks a little too much circle. So we intentionally offset from the center of the building and cut the bottom of circle. So the top area, number 7 area, has a space to pass the back side of this counter. And also the space actually become part of the accessible ramp. If you have because this space was lifted about 45 centimeter from the ground, so the main entrance has the stairs. So we were concerning the accessibility for example, wheelchair, and actually this building, the ground is sloped. The entrance area is lower than the other side. So by considering when it goes to this accessible ramp, the top area of circle, actually the difference become very little, like 15 to 20 centimeter. I think 15 centimeter difference from inside and outside. So when I look at it, I said, oh, that's a perfect location for accessible ramp, because they don't need to have a too long this ramp length. So I thought that was a perfect location. So that actually this ramp made this space to be perfectly accessible. which also creates this idea of inclusiveness, the space to rest of to the school students and also the community outside, and then the building space become purely social space. And this is a three-dimensional diagram that you can see. And another thing that we wanted to emphasize is this nice view to the rest of campus. So the circle, the inside of the circle has these 2 steps, seating steps as a bench, as a, so that actually student can sit there and take a look, the view. And also that kind of creates a little bit of boundary between exercise space and also the this the performing stage. And once again, in this project, as I mentioned earlier, this computer generated graphic or 3D modeling was crucial, because we needed to understand what possibly be the outside of the the behind the ceiling panel. Because initially when we visited, the roof, ceiling was totally covered by this typical ceiling panel. We couldn't see the shape of the roof or ceiling, so we were guessing probably will look like this, and luckily it was looking like this. And also the other thing we wanted to do was we found this very nice Chinese character plate on the wall when we went the first time. And actually this space, they used to teach this martial arts, Japanese judo, and this school used to be very good at it. The students are very strong. But recently, the government decided to build special training high school for those students who are good athletes. So that athletics, so that this high school, junior high, actually, they no longer need to focus on teaching this Japanese judo. But I saw this plate with this 4 text is one kind of the spirit of this space. So what we did was we implanted this plate into this mirror wall where people, when they do yoga, they actually looking at yourself. On top of that, we create this band of black mirror, and we put in the middle this spirits plate. I thought it was quite nice. And once again, this idea of circular stage connecting outside and inside, and how people, the student or general public, possibly perform the yoga. And the other thing we wanted to do was this V-shaped beam cover. We wanted to put as much function as possible, as many functions as possible. So mostly used for spotlight, these track lights are hidden in this track, but also partially there is a projector screen. So the projector screen comes down from this gap. So when it went up, very clean. We can have very clean, pure space with this V-shaped beam cover. And once again, also how this stage could be used, and also it helps students to look at the rest of the campus. And this is the actual construction, and then you can see the plate that I mentioned, the spirit of the space. And also when we removed the ceiling panel, luckily the ceiling shape was exactly what we are imagining in 3D modeling software. And yeah, it was quite nice actually. Well, you can see a little bit of aged concrete, which also was partially what we imagined. And this is the front side where we are making the stage. And looking at the other side is So you can see how the carpenters built the design based on our drawing, and also 3D images are very important for them to understand how we build, how we are imagining the final look of the space. And I have a video that I'd like to share.
进到一个空间的时候，你会很直接的，因为你的人坐在这里，身体在这里面伸展，都是美感生成的一个重要关键。现在的学生，他们的校舍难道要跟我们30年前一样吗？其实不一定。第一次进到丰东，其实我们觉得它非常的美丽，校舍很整齐以外，它还有很丰富的绿意。但是角力馆呢，建筑物它已经有50年的历史了，它缺乏整修，也在角力馆的时候做了很多的增建，其实看起来像一个很封闭的盒子。这个盒子的外围被海报板整个都遮住了，
因为这间平常都是关着的，虽然它在学校的蛮正中心的地方，但是好像就是一个比较没有人会去使用。
墙壁都是灰灰的，然后通风比较差一点。
我们进来希望能够做的就是展开它，我们将东侧的这道墙打开，不需要的海报看板全部撤掉，让整个视野延伸出去，让空气跟阳光跑进来。民国57年很有建筑特色的折板，我们希望能够将它恢复。地板将它拆除以外，防水需要重新上。我们设计了一个舞台区，原本既有一个下凹的半圆形舞台，当我们将所有的落地窗打开的时候，也可以很自然的成为一个延续性的空间。
感觉这里变得更大，而且灯光比较好。
椅子这边就觉得有那种艺术的感觉。
窗户变得很大，所以看得到外面，直接觉得是跟外面在连接着。
已经比之前好很多了，然后会给人家一种就是有家的感觉。
美感很难教，这个东西需要去体验。如果有机会去体验，看到更多很棒的空间，并且在里面活动的话，我想自然而然他可能就会发现到，还有什么东西可以再进步一点。
Okay, so well, as the video shows, when we open up the space to a student, they were very happy. And also this idea of teaching aesthetics to, for example, students, junior high students, obviously it's not easy. But I think this experience, knowing what was before and what was after, really, I think it motivates students to be more interested in design and how this whole building, even this whole building, they pass by every day has the potential to be something nice. I think this is a really good education for everyone, including ourselves. We learned a lot of things from this project. I'm very happy how we completed and how actually people find the values. And this is once again the spirit wall. Really, this turns out really nice. Be honest, the mirror wall, entire mirror, the extended space feels a lot bigger than actual space, and it's really unifies this idea of this simple space, but kind of multifunctions and creates this continuity from outside and inside. This is from the stage looking at the inside space. We use the paper tubes to create more accent, and also the partially we wanted to emphasize the usage of, for example, paper, which is not best material to use for interior, but because it get dirty easily, also once it's get wet or get damaged. But we wanted to use this material, paper material, partially because we wanted to teach people if you wanted to maintain the space, you have to be nice. It's not the space, the building or interior space last. That because we use strong material or plastics, but it will last because ideally people takes care of it. Because that's the idea, basic concept of sustainability. Sustainability is not about the material. Sustainability is about the mentality of users. So this portion, I think, this project turns out very successful. And once again, this idea of inside out, you can perform, and circle connects, was very, very beautiful executions. And once again, after we created this, emphasizing the shape of roof, actually feels like this building got the second life finally, because I found that this building is actually quite interesting. The Fondon Junior High, actually all the building has this zigzag, and we didn't notice because most of the building is very, very tall, and this building particularly only one story high, so that you can see the roof shape. But when I see this a video from shooting from the sky, I realized, hey, all the building has this zigzag. Anyway, and this is the shot through this the campus in front has a lot of nice trees and creates contrast, very dramatic. And the second project that I like to talk about is Lily just finished, literally a few months ago. That was for Taiwan Lantern Festival at Kaohsiung. And Kaohsiung hosted this one of the biggest lantern festival in Taiwan, called Taiwan Lantern Festival. It's traveling every year to different locations. And this year, before the Chinese New Year, the opening was after the Chinese New Year. And but we installed this art right before the Chinese New Year. And this is the main visual of Lantern Festival. And this project was quite interesting came to us. They were looking for artists that can design or create scene, the main lighting for new immigrant. They divided this Lantern Festival into different themes, and one of the themes was a kind of celebrating new immigrant. And this actually the Kaohsiung City Museum contacted us as asking if we can propose this this lighting, because they were having problem finding light artists for this main lighting art installation for new immigrant. And well, I mean, I'm Japanese, I'm from Japan, and then migrated to Taiwan. I mean, well, it's been already 9-10 years. I have a permanent residency, so I think literally I'm a new immigrant, I guess. I got this permanent residency last year, so yeah, I'm kind of new immigrant. So it came in really quick because once again, the date, they're opening February 15th, and we got a phone call from the museum, Kaohsiung City Museum, I think September, sometime middle to end of September, asking if we can come down to Kaohsiung and see the site choose the site. That time they were not even sure where we can install, or where we are not even sure if we get this project. So this one was on October 2021, last year, end of last year. We took the high-speed rail and went down to Kaohsiung, meet the people from the museum, and they took us to this the Performing Arts Center park, Wei Yuing Park, and then they walk us around this park and say, oh, this location, there is no other artist, or the other location I can choose. I'm like, okay. So when I look at these two sides was my final choice, and one had this brick kind of stage feeding. I thought, oh, it's kind of has a definition, while the other one was just the big grass field. But then I liked it, this left side that has a little bit of caved-in feeling. That you can see myself is a little bit lower, my leg is cut, right? It's actually caved in. So I thought, oh, it's kind of nice. It has this three-dimensional train of the site. And so first, what we needed was to come up with a nice concept of this art. Because the program they had it previously, the museum had a problem of finding artists for this new immigrant. What main lighting installation was they having a little bit of how do we call identity issues, because new immigrants are not necessarily I guess having a little bit of negativeness towards people migrated to Taiwan for some reasons, and or having too strong visual identity of which country they come from. So in this art, I try to propose more like, it's not about the shape, it's not about how it looks, but it's about the emotion, how us human beings moving to different locations. Obviously, first thing you feel is nervous. You feel very nervous when you go to different locations, the location you've never been. And it's not traveling, you're going to live there. And also, you feel excitement. With my experience, I feel some excitement, some scariness, nervousness, and also sometimes become fun because you find your own kind of friends or your own interest in the new locations. So to me, this experience is totally about your heartbeat. Sometimes your heartbeat beat very fast, sometimes very slow, sometimes up and down, a lot quick. So we try to use this idea of pulse. And somehow we wanted to create this pulse into a three-dimensional art, which incorporates lighting. So you can see on the left side, the diagram from the pulse, we try to create a pattern, which kind of become a dash line, and sometimes long, sometimes short. With this way, we can represent this kind of quickness or slowness. But we didn't want to be two-dimensional. We wanted to be three-dimensional, because I mean, my background is architectural design, so I wanted to create three-dimensional space that can kind of make people experience the idea of new immigrant, the emotional states of new immigrants. And this one was the sketch that I draw. I draw a lot of hand sketches on the paper, on the iPad mini. And this one particularly placed furniture so you can sit underneath. That was the idea. And also, I thought that the kind of caved area is nice because your structure doesn't need to be that tall, but you can have kind of lapping feeling of the people underneath. And this one, I use this software called Lumion to visualize. Lumion is amazing tools that actually can simulate natural environment. Like they have a lot of library of trees and grasses, and they are very realistic. So for me, it was quite nice because I can recreate this condition of the park with environment, so that when I work on the design, I actually can partially create this feedback, how this shape, if the shape reacts to the surroundings, so I should change, I should modify the height or the curve and the size. All those were really went through a lot of simulation in Lumion, and finally we came up with the size that we want, and also the idea of lighting, how light travel around the this circle, these structures, and illuminates the space underneath. And once you get certain idea, we need to figure out the size, like how big is this and how to actually build. This was hard because we only had, the time we proposed was October or November. That means before February 15th, we need to finish building it, which only gives you 3 months, 3 to 4 months to complete entire process. So we needed to go very quick, and then so that we need to specify the size. Our case, we made it like the longest 7.8, and the other shorter side is around 7 meter. And also structurally, we need to figure out, first, need to meet the budget. It's not unlimited budget. Obviously, there is a budget concern. And second, we need to find somebody who can build this, and we need to incorporate the method they can build. And third, obvious, need to be safe. It will be there standing at least 1 month, a little bit over the month. Could have big rain, could have big wind. If this thing fall down, oh, that's very scary thought. So we need to create as stable structure as possible, but at the same time, we cannot, it's not permanent, it's a temporary structure. So we need to think what's the least damage to the site. How can we recover? So we come up with these structural solutions. And this one was at the end of December. I remember we had this New Year break. We visited the site to see the fabrication of steel pipes, and see how either we need to modify it or it's stable enough. And then when we visited, actually quite surprised. It was quite stable, and it was quite big. You can see the pattern and then the structure, what's the size, right? So after we completed this pre-assembly, in the factory was in Taiwan, and then we made the structure, and we painted white. We wanted like a very white. So then we transport from Taiwan to Kaohsiung, and then hang with the crane and then assemble. And after structure completed, we put this fabric, the white fabric, which is not opaque. It's a translucent. You can see through the trees, and it's kind of 80% porous. And after the structure complete, we install the fabric. We put this lighting, because this is a lantern festival, has to have a lighting, and we try to digitally control this lighting. And this is the one of the final shot. Amazingly, I heard Kaohsiung usually doesn't rain, but when we went there, it rains crazy. Almost every day was raining, and we found one day that may not rain, and then we shot this photo that has actually a little bit of blue sky, and it has a big hole on the top where you sit there and actually looking at. Also at night when the light starts, you can hear the music and then you can see how the lights travel. And this is the dash line that I mentioned earlier to show the idea of pose. And we also 3D printed one of the furniture, and then it's kind of big, massive seat that you can sit on it. I have a video.
長友大輔です。日本生まれ、日本育ち、海外に、日本を出て約20年近くになるんですけども、台湾に移住して約9年目です。今回、この高雄のライティングフェスティバルで、新住民のテーマにしたパビリオンのアートインストレーションを設計してくださいっていう機会をいただいて、非常に嬉しく思っています。今回躍動っていう名前で、英語で言うとポーズ。このパビリオンを設計するにあたって、まず最初に思ったのは、形を作るよりも、感情をなんか具体化できないか。
那在现场施工呢，其实我们希望在现场能够降低制作的时间，因此整组是在工厂加工之后，在现场以最快的速度进行组装。那结构体结束了之后呢，我们会上一层网，那这个网是以透明的 PE 抽成丝来做的，因此它是一个阳光下面会闪闪发亮的一个结构体。那不仅是结构，我们希望它感觉有很棒的流线型之外，要呼应脉动的这个主题，我们提出了用很简单两条圆形的 LED 灯条去勾勒出整个形体的最上方跟最下方。
ここから始まりまして、それでなんか新しい場所に行くときって大体なんか胸が高鳴ったり心配になったりして緊張感とか興奮感っていうのが常にあると思うんですけども、それをどうにかパビリオン的な構造体にして、さらにそれを時間が経過するにあたって、たまにはゆっくりになったり、たまにはすごく早く動いたりっていうのをライティングで表現しようとしています。それで形自体はすごく有機的な形になってて、その周りをライトがこうやって回っていくっていうのが基本的なコンセプトになっています。
当你走进卫武营都会公园，到达这个场域的时候，我们希望大家能够停下脚步，然后可能使用这个石头椅，或者在这个棚子底下乘凉。然后我们希望大家能够在这个场域的时间花得越久，他可以听声音，他可以看灯的表现方式，更重要的是，这是希望他们能够互动的一个装置。
Okay, so this is the last project I will share. Also completed last year. But recently we had this opening. We call gender neutral public toilet at Banqiao Station, New Taipei City. I'm not sure if you guys know about this, but New Taipei city is pushing this idea of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and New Taipei City is one of the city from Taiwan, one of very few cities that actually try to comply the new agenda, this agenda of Sustainable Development Goals. And we were actually asked to participate on this public bidding. And first, because we like the idea of sustainability, and also we think, I guess that opportunity came across to us because other designer were not able to deliver what they were expecting. So the bidding process actually came to us, I think, second bidding, not first bidding, but second bidding because they couldn't find the successful bidder, so they opened up second. And so that we try to compose the proposal and try to get this toilet design. And so after we figure out there's a second bid, we visited the toilet, and in Banqiao Station, existing condition is, I mean, we take a nice photo, but this is the nicest photo of all that we took, and you can see how horrible this existing toilet is, right? That's amazingly bad. I don't know if we want to go there. And the location is quite amazing. I'm not, probably if you are in Taipei or this Taipei area, that you may not, you may have seen it. This this cone-looking thing, the tall tree they used to make into Christmas tree. I'm not sure if that was the original purpose. For me, it looks like a bamboo shoot, but well, anyway. So every year during the Christmas season, they have this lighting show in front of the New Taipei City Hall, and there's a lot of people. And this toilet that we renovated is right next to this Christmas tree, this one in the middle. And in floor plan, you can see this left side of blue and pink, these two locations. It's actually mirrored conditions. So there are two toilets. Used to be, both locations had male and female, and also handicapped toilet, accessible toilet. But a lot of people didn't notice because it's behind the stairs. There's two stairs and it's behind it. So in this photo, you don't see where the toilet entrance. It's kind of obvious. This toilet has a lot of problems. So when we visited, we kind of figure out the problem to solve. It's outdated toilet fixtures. Toilet looks horrible, horrific. Insufficient lighting. The lights, it's dark. Beyond is very dark. It's not bright enough, so that even creates more fear going inside. And also air circulation. The air was not circulating, so it creates a smell. It's a public toilet. So even though every day somebody is cleaning, really not nice experience. And also, one of the biggest challenge for us was to create gender neutral toilet. Gender neutral, I'm not sure if you aware, meaning we don't separate female or male. It become a very inclusive toilet that we have one entrance for everyone. Could be men going there, female, could be child, could be elderly, could be with wheelchair, could be with stick. Doesn't matter. It's all inclusive. And in order to do that, I mean, technically, this type of accessible toilet has been there a long time. And many important factor comes from physical reducing the boundary. For example, the different height, reducing the height difference, make it flat, where the doorknob should be, all those strategy for we call universal design. But what we wanted to do was not only to emphasize this universal design idea, but we wanted to create this inclusiveness with design. So some important elements to us was the color. For example, the color shouldn't be gender-sided, meaning when you enter, you don't feel like, oh, I'm in a female toilet, or oh, I'm in a male toilet. So when we look at it, what's gender-neutral colors? It's like light brown, gray, black, white, and blue, like blue. It's light color blue, not dark color blue. And also, lighting is important because you don't want to have this nervous feeling. And also, we thought about it, maybe entrance has very special feeling, so that when you pass the entrance, you're feeling like, oh, you're going to this gender-neutral zone, rather than just going to the toilet. And also, we wanted to incorporate this green wall, having plants, this calm your nervousness. And by looking at the plants, feels like you're part of the nature. But this perspective is kind of summarizing all the elements that we were thinking about, talking about color, talking about entrance, talking about lighting, design, and talking about green features. And this is the points that we wanted to emphasize in this project. So this is to understand the space. There's a lot of toilets. I think there's more than 15 toilets, if I remember correct. And some toilets are handicap accessible, also kids friendly. So you can take your kids and can go straight to your needed locations. And also we created one central hand washing stations where having this green wall background, and also kids friendly. So some portion of the hand washing faucet installed lower. And the once again, earlier I mentioned this one was the public bidding, meaning it's a competition. We propose, obviously somebody else will propose. So meaning your design will be evaluated by juries, so that you need to have a very strong visual presentations. Like you need to make synchronize your jury synchronize with your ideas. And so that we didn't want to only show the toilet, because it's an interior design project, but for us the context was important. How this toilet is right next to the symbolic Christmas trees, behind the staircase that's not so visible. So this particular image, which most of the jury liked it, also the client, which is New Taipei City government, they were impressed by this rendering. Particularly, it's like, wow, this looks so nice. And the other thing is, as I mentioned, the entrance need to have very specific experience. You cannot just go into the toilet. So we created this tunnel that has linear lights and very clean. And then you can find way in. It's not closed with doors or anything. It's just open. And this from the other view, you can go through this specific, very special experience to gender neutral zone. And you can easily identify where is your toilet. And so for that reason, we try to work on this picogram, like kind of icon. And at the entrance, you can already see almost entire space. That's also important. You feel visually safe. And then also hand washing stations. And we had many different ideas, for example, to identify if these toilets were used or not used. Unfortunately, these didn't happen with the budget issues. And we had different solutions for these icons. And the other thing was we didn't want to use one specific color for all. The blue, outside blue came from gender neutral. But then inside of the toilet, if we wanted to provide a little bit more special experience so that we use light pastel colors for red to the green, blue, yellow. So each toilet you go inside, you feel like, oh, you have a different experience. And also another thing is we wanted to connect this toilet to the rest of plaza. So this view that you can see on the left side, the rest of the plaza, that's really important. And once again, after all those efforts that you saw, nice rendering, we cut the project, we beat the bidders, and then we start the construction. Demolition of existing was actually very. I mean, we did design. We had construction. It was very hard. The building. I mean, the space was very old. After we demolished, we found a lot of problems. Well, we removed all the old tiles, and after cleaning up the space, we started to build the surface, the ceiling and walls. This is we're constructing inside. This is the final. You can see it's quite close to our rendering. It was actually worked nicely, very beautiful. And this is the image, looking at the hand washing station, and also entrance, and each toilet. We painted the different colors. The tons are very nice, actually. I enjoyed it, looking into each toilet and see what color that is. And we had this press conference with Taipei City Mayor Oyo Yi. And well, actually, a lot of people came. It was very successful. And well, I mean, we try to push this idea of the sustainability, or SDGs. Okay. So as I describe in cases, actually, I rely on a lot of project with Lumion. Why Lumion is, as I kind of explain that piece by piece. For me, it's important to create this condition environment in computer that as close as the actual site, which kind of generates the idea of design thinking. Because, for example, if only hand sketches or only computer modeling, actually, it's very difficult to imagine how it turns out in reality. And through all the experience, I realized actually these real-time visualization technologies are really helpful because you can simulate a lot of conditions as close as reality. So now with this Lumion, with all those experience I had in previous project, I find that maybe this can implement into my teaching, because I'm a teacher, I'm a professor, and I want to kind of provide my students a different experience to promote their design thinking. So this idea came almost 2 years ago. after we figure out this Lumion, I think Lumion 10. Lumion 10 came out, the render quality improved by a lot, and also the computer graphic card became a little bit more accessible. And I had this idea of maybe I can use the Lumion for educational application, and I named it as perceptual learning. So 2 years ago, I wrote this proposal to MOE, Ministry of Education, Teaching Practice Research Program. And this is from, in this MOE research program, they divide it into different disciplines, and different university gets get the funding. And then in Taisuda, NTNU, in this art and design, creative discipline, there were 4 teachers at this funding. And from design department, you can see I got one proposal, which is this perceptual learning. So the idea of this perceptual learning is to create a design thinking loop. And typically, with my experience, what I learned was even it's a creative education, actually interior design learning process is very linear. With the problem is the schedule. First, the students are very busy, and every week there is a different task. So if you miss it, you feel like they cannot go back. So in the end, a lot of students realized the initial idea in 2D, which is like a floor plan or sketch, was not good. But when they realize it's actually too late to go back, because you have a presentation, a final presentation. So in this perceptual learning process, what I wanted to experiment, or what I wanted to research, was if we can fully integrate this idea of real-time visualization, maybe we can create the loop rather than linear learning process. So that you could create your own idea. While you're designing, you examine with this real-time visualization, in this case, Lumion, and maybe you can get the feedback not only for your rendering, but for your design. So in the end, this the looping become creating design thinking. So first, what I did was I took the workshop with Jen Hong 2 years ago. And because that time I wasn't so familiar with Lumion, now I use it as fluent as like other software. 2 years ago, I never used it. So first, I found it on Lumion website. Oh, there's a workshop for teachers. So I signed up. I went there, and then I actually become quite good friend with Jen Hong's Ken, and then I kind of start talking to them and start using the Lumion. And then first, what I did was try to use this software in my lectures. Lectures, usually I prepare PowerPoint and keep showing the photos. It's not so interactive. And in this class, in interior design class, I want to be a little bit more interactive, meaning teach students more physical feedback of what they're looking at. So I found this material called How Colors Changes the Perception of Interior Space from ArchiDaily. I thought that was a great article. Teach reader how this idea of color compositions changes the space. So what I did was I used this example and then put it in a Lumion, model a small space in Lumion, and show the students how this color combination actually changes. And the same space, same model, different texture, colors, and then they can see the result right away. And real-time visualization, the best thing is you don't need to wait for the result. It's almost instant. If you use typical, we call CPU rendering, it takes too long to see the result. So you go to, actually, when you hit the rendering, you almost need to go to sleep. And so the once the other application, obviously, less students use it. So in my class, a lot of students nowadays are quite fluent with Lumion. So we use Lumion to have a kind of this critique or conversation. And the last thing in this perceptual learning is actually to create accumulation of experience. So to do that, important part is to make this real-time visualization as close as actual physical experience. So I purchased 4 VR goggles with this research funding. And so I mean, ideally, if I could have like 20, that's the best. Every student get one. But funding is limited, so I tried it with 4 and divide into groups, and then everyone can have at least experience of this virtual reality. And the important part is not the experience of somebody else's design. Meaning it's not a physical experience of, for example, famous designer's space, but physical experience of your own design. Because usually most of the cases in design practice, most important part is to fail. You design something and realize, this wasn't good. But a lot of cases for us, it's quite too late because we finish and realize, that's not good. So you cannot tell anyone. So the virtual reality is really good that you can fail. So I wanted students to fail. Model the space, design the space, make the model, physical model, 3D model, and afterwards you experience your own space and find your own problem, so that you can implement this program to next project. And the other part the student use is this, for example, final presentation. Lumion really helpful. Even students' design looks quite nice with this rendering. And also animations.
And there will be the contours. Space. The rest is high. tutorial this and the camera. This is the outdoor dining area, and I can also go down to watch the performance.
So I summarized the first this until this period of the research, end of last semester. I wrote a paper called Study of Perceptual Learning for Promoting Design Thinking in Space Design Education. That was for the conference, and I went to present it this IEEE. It's an engineering conference, actually, Euro-Asian conference for educational innovations, to talk about innovative educational method. And I wanted to share my experience. And this is a photo that I'm presenting. And wow, amazing. I got this Best Paper Award. It's actually my first time receiving award in writing paper. I've received a lot of design awards, but really makes me happy that I had write this paper and get some award. And yes, with this success, actually, last semester, I accumulated quite enough confidence. So that this semester, we made a new challenge, which called TSID Student Award. TSID, it's an abbreviation of Taiwan Society of Interior Designer. interior designers. It's a association of academians, interior design related academians. They host annual competition, student award. And with my experience, this is one of the biggest student awards for interior design departments. Collects over 500, 600 entries, entire Taiwan, nationwide. And they have these exhibitions and also final jury sessions by industry leading professionals and teachers. And I encountered this competition when I was teaching at a university, and I thought it's a quite good competitions for my students to experience what's the standard expectation and standard knowledge and skill for third year interior design students. Because in NTNU, we don't have interior design major nor group. Interior design education, we teach as certificate program, which is a lot less requirements than actually a department, interior design department, for example. So feels like if they wanted to, I mean, harsh way, survive in interior design industry, they have to understand the standard. And the easiest way to understand the other students' level is to participate in the competitions. Be honest, it's a harsh way, but the design is always the competition. As I showed the Banchao toilet project, you have to compete. Either competition format, client format, always creativity is evaluated. So this is one of my students, our students created this amazing poster mimicking the Avengers, the designers, Infinity War. I guess it's one of, feels like, looks like, that was one of most, how do we describe, intensive experience for my student after participating in this competition. They work hard. I taught hard, and after I went through all those process, some students came up with these Avengers ideas. I guess either they enjoyed it or they had enough, but they were quite excited. So I'd like to share some of the project they proposed for this TSID award. And this one of the project, they emphasized the idea of playing virtual living in Leo. The requirement was to propose the future design office, and it's a collaborative space, a collective space. One of the has to choose. You need to choose two designers. One is requirement interior designer. So the other one you need to propose, and it become a collective office that you need to propose a future office platform. And these students, they try to propose interior designer plus virtual reality, AR, VR, digital designers. And the office, they want to incorporate this VR space, virtual reality space. In this center, there's a space for them to play, and even in the future, maybe this drone technology let people fly and play VR. Those quite interesting ideas. And so through entire project development, we went back and forth between 3D modeling and this real-time visualizations, and to discuss either programming or design solutions, how to connect inside out, because outside supposed to be nice forest. And this project did pretty well. And also this one is another project that they were quite interested in this grid system. Or like they try to modularize the design with this grid so that they can create flexible space with very simple structural solutions. And also they choose the other designer as interactive design, so that they wanted to create kind of projection screens that they can experiment their interactive design. And also this office space is kind of solution of this grid system. And also they try to connect outside and inside with the same structural method. And the other one is the I personally like this project. It talks about mushroom as a future material. So they choose fashion designer and interior designer that worked on they are experimenting on mushroom material. And with this material, how to create interior solutions in terms of sustainability or structural solutions is that using the mushroom. And above floors, the workshop in ground floor is more towards the exhibition space. And you can see this mushroom shape is actually crowded with mushroom brick. And this is the first floor. And this one has video. So what happened was usually TSID, there's over 500 entries, and they have this second round we call shortlisted, around 60-ish shortlist. And amazingly, my students, we had 10 groups enter this competition, and 5 of them made it to second round. Meaning usually there's 500 to 600 entries, 60 something shortlisted, like 10% of top 10% of students can go to second stage. In our case, we made it 50% went to second stage out of 10 groups, 5 out of 10. I found that was quite amazing achievement. I mean, they haven't won the award, they made it to second round already. I found it that's amazing. Yes. I'm quite happy already, but they will have a final presentation mid of June, and hopefully, finger crossed, maybe they can wish their luck. Okay, so in the end, today's main topic is this Boo Boo Room. This is 2022 graduation exhibition of National Taiwan Normal University Department of Design. And what happened between June 7th and 12th at the venue and in the North Zhongshan Station area. And this being my first journey with fourth-year students in past year and a half almost. Well, we started when they're third year, second semester, and then we are finishing up. They are about to graduate, and these are the students that participated. It's the entire grades of students. And this class, graduation design, I've been teaching with Professor Liao, Melvin Laosu, past year and a half. It's an amazing journey with Professor Liao. He's a great professor. He's from graphic design group. And I'm representing product design group to guide students develop their own project. And personally, it was an amazing journey. I'm hoping that they finish the exhibition. And during this journey, we invited informal curating creative director, Yao Pangwan. He's my good friend and amazing designer, and he gave us such a wonderful feedback to our students. And hopefully we make a good presentation, good exhibition. Maybe hopefully he can visit us. And this was the couple months ago. We just finished pre-exhibitions at the neighborhood in our campus. And all the professors, director, and also dean of College of Art visited, and almost there. All right, and then in the very end, we thank our students' effort. These are the students worked hard to find a sponsorship, including Jenghon and ASUS. We are presenting via online, and ASUS particularly help us to provide equipment, computer projectors, and thank you so much for your support. And I'm hoping your continuous support for the next years and futures. And also Jenghon, I really need to thank Ken and Jenghon. They're huge support and kindness to our students. Jenghon sponsored our entire department for Lumion student license. This is why we have this perceptual learning, and my technical teaching method came across. Without his support, I don't think was possible, and I can't thank enough. Hopefully, we have future collaborations and continuous support to our students, our department. Thank you so much. And I'm hoping to see you guys at the venue of June. Hello, everyone.
以上是大以上是大普老师的言论。让我们谢谢大普老师。接下来将由我们的赞助伙伴 ASUS 周玉璇专员带来华硕为艺术创作者的解决方案。 不好意思，请稍等我们一下。
Hello，线上的同学们，大家好，我是华硕的技术顾问 Roy。首先，谢谢主办方的邀请。那接下来的时间就由我来为大家分享我们华硕在艺术创作者的领域中有哪些软硬整合的解决方案。那在分享的过程中，如果同学们有任何题想要提 Q&A 中做发问。在媒体和娱乐领域中，有数以千万计的电影、电视、视觉特效和动画内容创作者，都在将他们的创意呈现给大家。俗话说得好，工欲善其事，必先利其器。要做出好的作品呢，除了需要巧妙的创意之外，多功能的软体及强大的硬体也是不可或缺的。接下来，我们先来欣赏一段由 NVIDIA 团队所设计的短片，里面呈现了如何靠实时的光线追踪、虚拟制作、物理特性、AI 模拟等等功能来完成的这个作品。 大家可以看到，刚刚的影片中用了蛮多技巧在其中。然而，要做出如此流畅的作品，选对的硬体就非常重要了。现今渲染的世界里，面临3大挑战，分别是时间、高期望度和高成本。渲染的时间长短，取决于硬体的等级，或者是动画每一帧的质量。例如说，像皮克斯电影的每一帧，可能就需要超过24小时来做渲染才可以完成。所以，如何压缩渲染的时间就非常重要了。另外，观众对作品的期望越来越高，相对的就要在作品中加入更多的特效、更拟真的效果。最后，透过 CPU 来做渲染的成本非常之高，在相同的工作负载中，如果透过 GPU 来做渲染，会是一个很好的选择。接下来我们来看一下 CPU 跟 GPU 渲染上有多大的差异。我们可以看到右边的状况是非常流畅的，然而左边会发生许多卡顿的状况以及延迟。所以在渲染的任务上，使用 GPU 可以获得大幅度的加速及更及时的呈现。然而，现今 GPU 种类非常繁多，不同的任务、不同的软体，会有不同等级的 GPU 来做支持。以下这个短片展示了，如果选错 GPU， 在使用较高资源的软体或者是使用 AI 特效时，一样会发生卡顿的状况。以上影片告诉了我们，不同的硬体组合在软体操作的流畅度或是渲染时程长短会有很大的影响。所以我们华硕有针对3大主流的领域来做软硬整合方案的提供，分别是制造、媒体娱乐以及建筑营造等等。不同的领域常用的绘图软体也不尽相同，所以我们产品都会根据主流的绘图软体来做相容性的测试，所以完全不用担心会发生效能不足、发生卡顿，或者是软体执行上会有问题。那以下3款是华硕的专业绘图工作站，可以看到从入门款 WS750T 可以支援1张 GPU， 中阶款 WS880T 可以支援2张 GPU， 到最高阶款 WS980T 可以支援4张 GPU。所以呢，不同的任务或者是要跑更高效能的软体，我们都会有相对应的硬体可以来做支持。那不论是入门款750T 到最高阶款 980T 呢，我们都有通过所谓的 ISV 认证。也就是说，我们会拿我们这3款工作站来通过主流绘图软体的相容性及性能测试，以确保我们创作者使用我们硬体跑这些软体不会有任何的问题发生。再来，我们来细看一下工作站的功能。以 WS750T 为例，在网络部分，我们有内建2个 2.5G 的高速网络，并且有支援 WiFi 6的模组，所以在网络体验上是非常顺畅的。另外，这台也有支援1张专门用于绘图用的 Quadro GPU 卡，并且最重要的是，我们这台有通过 ISV 的认证，来确保绘图软体的可靠性。NVIDIA 的 Quadro 系列是针对绘图应用所设计的产品，可以大幅缩短开发的时程，并且可以达到即时渲染的效果。目前如这个简报所示，最新的产品从入门到高阶款分别是 A2000、A4000、A5000 跟 A6000。那可以看到它的算力及记忆体大小 越来越强大。那目前大家最常拿来搭配绘图软体的有3张卡 A4000、A5000跟 A6000，所以我们有根据这3张卡搭配工作站推出几个组合包来让大家参考。如果未来你们想要组一台工作站来跑绘图软体，可以参考这几个配置。那在规划绘图软体的硬体规格中，除了主机之外，还有一个硬体非常重要，就是萤幕。萤幕是设计师跟作品之间沟通的桥梁。萤幕的好坏、色彩的呈现及准确度都非常重要，稍有偏差都会影响设计师的判断。华硕呢有针对这几个重点，推出一个系列叫做 Pro Art。Pro Art 呢有3大特点。第一个呢是我们的萤幕有针对 Rec 709跟 sRGB 支援到100%的色mir让色彩呈现不失真。第二点是我们的萤幕出厂时都会做色彩的调校，并取得卡尔曼的认证，确保色彩准确度是符合标准的。最后一点是可以根据设计师想要呈现的效果，做萤幕角度或高低的调整。那目前主流的萤幕总共有3款，总共有分27寸跟32寸。那27寸又有分 2K 跟 4K 的解析度，所以呢，可以提供给设计师或学生们根据他们的需求来做相对应硬体的选择。那以上就是我的分享，谢谢大家。
谢谢周日升专员的分享。那以上就是今天的讲座，接下来我们将进入最后的 Q&A 时间。针对今天的讲座，有任何问题想要询问长友大辅老师以及周日升专员，现在都可以开麦进行提问喽。好，那我们请朱佳琪同学进行提问。你要关吗？稍等我一下。不好意思，请稍等我们一下。OK 了。好，那请同学现在应该可以提问了。
有这样的声音吗？
有听得到。
好，那我想要问老师，就是前面有提到说，在丰中国中的舞台是使用直筒，然后直筒不是一个非常耐用的材质，但是也有提到说，就是设计上可能不一定要做到最坚固，而是要鼓励大家好好珍惜使用，才是就是永续的这个宣传的方式。那想要问老师说，因为材质的耐受性是没办法使用渲染软体做测试的，那我们是要怎么测量说这种材质运用上的可行性呢？谢谢老师，谢谢大家。
OK， 要翻译吗
OK， teacher, you mentioned that you use paper tubes on the Dongfeng Guozhong stage, and then the paper tube is not a very durable material, and I wonder that how to measure the usage of the material.
好 ，OK， 这个 I think it's a good question. There is a two intention with this paper material. 第一个是we wanted the kids to take care of this stage. 所以呢 we didn't put very rigid or strong material. So paper, if you don't use knife, it gets fired out, right? It's easy to damage. So first idea was if we use the paper, maybe kids will realize this stage need to take care of this stage. The second intention is when we do interior project, we need to think about what happened after this project finish. I mean, after this interior space is demolished. So now, for example, if we use plastic material, then this plastic will become trash over there. You cannot recycle plastic materials once you put it into the interior space. Most of the plastic material we cannot recycle. So the idea of reducing the plastic material, replacing by paper, actually, if this stage no longer serve initial purpose, then that portion of paper can be recycled. That's our second idea. So we are not looking for really like permanent solution. We are trying to raise the awareness of what we need to take care of it and what happened after this lifetime of the of this stage. That's I think it's more likely educational purpose. How to translate? Somebody can translate. 不行吗？弄的。
那请问同学有得到你想听得懂吗？得到你想要的回答
Yes, I see. Thank you, teacher.
好，不用客气。
那我们就谢谢大布老师的回答。那请问线上还有任何人有提问吗？那好，那陈其安同学，你可以开麦进行提问。
有声音吗？
有声音。
我想要问老师，就是当设计师跟业主提报的时候，除了有漂亮的渲染图，还需要提供给业主什么
？What I need to give to client besides 漂亮的图吗
？Yeah, besides beautiful renderings.
这个呢 ，usually most important part is your concept, 你的概念 ，because only designer talks about concept. The other, for example, client, they never come up with the concept of the space, 对不对？所以呢 when you talk to client, first thing you need to tell them is, oh, I have this idea, I have this concept. If for example, they give me this project, I give you my concept. And this concept usually used to be described in your hand sketch or model making thing, which once again, a lot of people don't understand, especially non-professional. For them to understand the concept is hard. So now, what this 漂亮 rendering, beautiful rendering helps is not only make them understand that your design, but helping you to realize your concept into the space that you can communicate with your client. So I think this is one of the very strong tools for designers to actually use this rendering method, because it's for almost everyone can understand if you show something looks nice, right? And they say, oh, this is beautiful. And you have such a nice concept. That's why you get the project. If you only give a concept, they think you're alien. 他讲什么啊？这感觉。What are you speaking? And then we have a miscommunication. This is very difficult. That's why I start thinking this rendering is very strong tool for us to communicate with clients. OK 吗？
那陈其安同学。
OK， 先
哦、I'm drawing. You gotta draw. You gotta draw. Pigmented. That's for sure.
好，那我们一样谢谢长友大辅老师的回答。那请问线上还有任何观众有问题想提出的吗？
没有的话就
那没有的话，我们现在荧幕上面有 ASUS ProArt 官网以及正红国际官网日 Lumion 试用申请以及社群，大家如果有兴趣的话，都欢迎扫描这些 QR code， 以及我们 Bubu Room 的展览官网以及 Instagram 跟 Facebook， 欢迎大家为我们多多追踪，加油！
然后大合照时间。
好，那最后就是今天的大合照时间。如果大家方便的话，都可以开启自己的镜头，让我们一起为今天的讲座合影留念。
有人看吗？那你就再提醒
大家应该可以开启。
请大家方便的话，
如果方便的话，
可以帮我们开启。
开了，开了。
可以帮我们开启。
好，
开了。谢谢长友大辅
老师没有啊？
老师，你的没有打开诶。
哎，是哦，哪一个？
哦，哎，
拥抱。
有吗？你去看一页。哦，有了，老师好。好，我数。好，那就1、2、3。
下一张。
有吗？好，哎，好，对啊，大家可以踊跃的一起合影留个念。
再一张。
好，1、2、3。
好，这个。
好，那我们今天的讲座就到这边正式告一段落了。那谢谢大家今天的参与。
拜拜。
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 大家拜拜，谢谢大家。
好 ，OK。
哇，大家都兑现了，拜拜。
看起来好像但是我们数学老师。好，
然后到什么时候？
好，你就说那我们即将关闭讲座之类的。
好，那我们的讲座就即将关闭，谢谢大家。你就退休了。
我会说人。好，直接退出。